Warner Brothers, please let me write this. It's a Western set in the wizarding world, and it stars a gunslinging cowboy named Blake Wolf. The story starts with Blake stumbling upon the scene of a bandit robbery. There's just debris everywhere, and there's like personal belongings, there's clothes, there's blood, and then there's one dead guy. He's bald and overweight. Not talking about me. Okay. He looks down, this dead bald guy that's overweight more than I am. He's wearing this royal purple cloak. He takes note of that. It looks very fine, and it looks different than those from around his parts. In the bald man's hand, there's a hairpin. It's gold and yellow and black, and it has a little button, a golden button of a badger on it. He puts it in his pocket, and he looks down and says, "Now, why would a bald guy need a hair clip?" He searches on his inner coat pockets and finds something that they missed. It's a tiny box about this big. It looks just like a miniature luggage. Just as he's doing that, he looks up, and on the horizon there's a dust cloud, and through the heat and the haze he can see 3 people horseback coming towards him. So he knows that they're either coming back for that thing in his hand, or they'll think that he's the one who did it. So he books it. He leaves. So he jumps on his horse, Cottonmouth, Cotton for short, and they head to his hideout. And his hideout's in some larch trees, some old larch trees. It's a very country-looking tree. There's a little pool of water. It runs clean there. And he has his stuff hidden. And he takes out this little briefcase, and he's inspecting it. He opens it up, and there's nothing in it. It also, on the inside, has badgers printed on it. He touches the bottom of the inside of the briefcase again, but it feels just like fabric. He's not finding the hard shell that should be meeting his fingers. He turns it around and sees that there is indeed a hard shell, as he already knew, and he turns it back, and there's a little seam in the corner of the fabric. He pushes it, and his finger breaks through, and he expects his hand to come out the back of it, and he turns it around, and it's still flat box. He pushes his hand further in, and further in, and further in, all the way up to almost to his shoulder. And when he moves his arm around to see where it is, he about loses his mind, and he stumbles and falls back when he sees that his arm is missing. He pulls the luggage off of his arm with his other hand, and after he paces around for a couple of seconds, he looks at the box again, and he holds it up, and he puts his hand further in and further in until he feels some metal, like a metal stick, cold to the touch. And he reaches a little further in, and there's like another little piece to it it's not quite as cold as metal, and he realizes it's a lever. So he grabs and squeezes the lever and pulls it. And when he does that, the luggage shoots out on both sides, and it expands to about the size of a door. And then the top and bottom also shoot out, and they expand and they grow to fit the whole dimensions of a door frame. So he looks at his horse Cotton, and he's like, "I guess I'm gonna do this. I guess save a cigarette for me on the way out." He likes a good mystery. Blake's gonna step into this briefcase, and he never thought he'd say them words. But he goes in, and he pushes through the fabric and the curtains. It's an entryway. It's like a parlor. And he looks up, and there's picture frames, but the pictures are moving, and they're nodding their head, and they're tipping their hats, and they're having something to drink that looks really good. It's kind of foamy. It looks like a beer with extra butter. In the corner, in a chair, there's a little rabbit and a little dolly, and there's other little toys scattered around. And his eyes keep following along until he sees a pedestal in the center of the room. On the far end, there's another door, but in the center is a pedestal. And he walks up to it. The pedestal's made of gold and silver. And around the framing of it, around the edging, there are pocket watches and compasses, all sorts of little gears that are spinning and whirring and clicking slowly. On this pedestal, there's this piece of wood that almost looks like a conductor's stick. It just looks like a stick. And then there's a note in front of it that says the contents of the wand. It's made of ash and kelpie mane core, and there's a note under that in parentheses that says it's good for transfiguration and water-based spells. And on the wall there are 2 clocks. There's one that has normal hours, minutes, and seconds, and then one next to it. It seems to have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, more little notches for the second hand to go by. He loves the excitement of whatever this box room is. So he takes this wand, he steps through this next set of doors, and when they close, they kind of seal up. He looks, and there's more picture frames along the walls, but these are different. These have people in them doing the same motion over and over, and then there's a word under it, under each frame, almost like these images are labeled, and it feels like a practice room. The same way that somebody would practice drawing a gun or doing a dance move. That's what these picture frames are showing. But they're holding the wand that he has in his hand, and he sees that these pictures, this wand is doing something. It's allowing them to do something. So he takes the wand and he sees the first picture, and it has Accio written under it. And he aims it at this object in the middle of the room, and he says it follows the way that the hand flicks in the picture, and he says, Accio. The object in the middle of the room flies towards him, and he has to grab it before it hits him in the face. Realizing the treasure that he's found, he knows that the people that were on the horizon are coming, and they were trying to find him. And he knows that there's something bigger going on in the world than he's ever imagined. An hour or so of practicing these spells, mind you, he went into this box at sunset. He comes out, and the sun is just barely setting at this point. The clocks make sense to him now. Time is slower in this faux room of requirement. Excited to get started on learning some more of these spells that he sees on the walls, puts out the fire. He decides to get a little shut-eye, turn in for the night so he can get a fresh start the next day. It's not long, near sunup, when he hears people coming into his hideout. The trees, he can hear them walking and talking. And he hears somebody say, it's those three guys, he's sure, and he hears one of them say, well, the tresh says it's here somewhere. And they're all looking. They look like they're going the wrong way, but then they all turn in his direction, and he hides behind some trees for a minute as he's listening still, and they start coming towards him. And he knows that they're going to find him eventually. So Blake Wolf steps out. He's got his gun on his hip, so he's ready to talk. When he does that, one of the guys say, Blake? I thought that was you. It's the Payne boys. There are two of them. Bobby Payne, that you? Yeah, it's us. They refer to themselves as us. And that was your scene back there, I reckon. Yep, that was ours, all right. Hey, listen, we're looking for something. We think you found it. Maybe I did. And then they laugh, right? And then they say, let's cut some of this out and just save ourselves some time and give us the briefcase. And he's like, that's it, this whole thing? And he holds it up, and then they're like, say, yeah, that's it, that's the one. And then they go, how about $15 for it? We both know it's worth a little bit more than that, Bobby. All right, how about a quint eagle? Now it's $50. He's like, you want to make a trade for a slug? That's also slang. And then nothing. He doesn't respond. And then they're like, all right, fine. What do you want then? Goodness. Blake says, let me think. And then he pauses to make it less obvious. And he says, there was a little girl with you. And they say, I don't know what you mean. Yeah, you do. You ain't getting this case anytime soon until you bring her to me. And then they say, what do you want with the little girl anyways? And he says, I don't care. And the boys look at each other. And they're like, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. And then he says, dying's easy. You're right. The third stranger with them is like, Silver Snake Blake, what are the odds? Hand Cannon Blake. He disregards it. We don't know why Blake wants her, but it's most likely, I know why. He wants the bounty that he can get from her, and he wants to maybe see if he can pull one over on these guys and keep the briefcase too. But the most important thing is the bounty. And on top of that, he's already got the wand, so he's good. The boys say, don't you move, we'll be back. Like they're going to go get the girl. But he winks, and then one of the brothers lifts up his gun and shoots from the hip. Old Silver Snake Blake is too fast, and he caps him. He grazes the brother, and they scramble behind some rocks. And then old Blake Wolf looks up at one of the trees. He looks up at one of the trees. It's a dead tree, and there's some rope in it. He casts Accio on the rope, pulls it towards him. The tree snaps, and then the tree falls, and it kills one of the brothers. Then Blake rolls out, and he shoots the third guy in the leg, the unknown extra guy. Then Blake lights a branch on fire, holds it over the tiny little briefcase, and he says, get the girl or it's gone. Enraged, the other brother and the stranger head out to get the girl. They agree to return at sundown the next day. Blake spends a lot of the next night learning these spells in the room, and he has plenty of time to rest in between as well. I guess you're just going to have to let me write the rest of the story if you want to hear more of it. There might even be a moment where Blake's accent causes him to mess up a spell and things go awry. Because if you say Expelliarmus, something wrong is going to happen there. But yeah, just let me write the story, Warner Brothers. Warner Bros., I'll make you some money. It'll be a good win-win for you and for me because I love movies. I've already got the ending all lined up, and it's pretty freaking cool. I do not want to give it away. But come on, a gunslinger with a wand, you can shoot and cast spells, and it's a Western.
Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, please. Batman.
And you know what else? I wrote the first chapter of how this would be like if it were in a novel, so you can read that over here. Or watch some of my videos.